Welcome to the Personal Finance Professional Podcast. I'm Molly Birchall, Communications Executive for the Personal Finance Society. In this episode, I'll be talking to Shani Clark and Dr. Vina Theodorakopoulou. In this episode of the podcast, we are discussing how to inspire inclusion in the insurance and personal finance professions. I'm joined by Shani Clark, CEO of the Carteret Wealth Limited, and Dr. Vina Theodorakopoulou, Supervisory Board Member and Individual Board Member Lead at GAIN, the group of Autism, Insurance and Neurodiversity. Here is my conversation with Shani and Vina. Hello to you both, and thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. I hope you're both well. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be here. Hi, Molly.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Well, firstly, could we just start off by talking a bit about yourselves and your career journey that you've been on so far? So, Shani, if we could start with you.
Okay, no problem. Yes, my career journey probably started when I arrived in Jersey, which is 33 years ago. I have started off working for HSBC Bank. Did numerous jobs there, and I was actually recognised as a young lady of being very good with clients, which I always thought I was. And she recommended I go for a position as an investment manager within the investment team, which I did, and stayed with them for over 11 years as an investment manager. And since leaving the bank, I actually started to do individual financial planning for just Jersey residents, and worked again long-term for a company as an IFA in Jersey until I actually set up and bought my own business, the Carteret Wealth, with my partner Helen, she's my business partner, and we now have a very successful, busy financial planning business in Jersey.
Amazing. Thank you. And Vina, did you want to tell us about your journey?
Yeah, thank you for having us today. Lovely to meet you, Shani. It's incredible to hear of a fellow woman who's basically set up your own business with a fellow woman, which I find incredible. Likewise, my social enterprise consists of females, and I find that very important. But a little bit of a step back, I've been in the financial service industry for about 25 years now. I'm an academic as well. My PhD was in behavioral economics. I do love understanding what makes people tick, and really I've got quite a degree of fascination about human beings, particularly human beings in insurance, which might come as a huge surprise for many people, but there we go. I've done banking, consulting, and as I said, corporate insurance before. And nowadays, and over the last almost 3 years, I've decided to repurpose myself. So I'm a social entrepreneur. I have gone back into teaching, albeit in adult education at the City Lead. But I'm also on a couple of boards, the premise of advisory positions, one of which is indeed GAIN, the group for Autism, Insurance, Investment, and Neurodiversity. We're seeking to radicalize the employability prospects of neurodivergent people in the space, or also outside of the space, who would love to join us.
Brilliant. Thank you, Vina. And what's been the main challenge for you both when you've entered the profession, and how did you overcome it? Vina, if we stick with you to start with.
So some 25 years ago, I remember I was probably the only loudly dressed person. I do like floral prints. I like patterns. I do like geometry, and I've got a little bit of a fascination of architecture. So that kind of speaks for itself when you see me dressed. And obviously, I'm an accident person. I'm a Greek person. I could have taken elocution lessons. I decided not to, probably because I thought I would be hopeless. But other than that, I am different. I am also quite energetic. I have meanwhile realized that that energy comes also from ADHD. So I've been different. I have been different. And I remember getting this amazing sort of thrill coming up from the bank station on the way down to Fletcher Street, thinking, wow, that's incredible. That's vivacious. That's vibrant. That's zesty. But why don't I see other people like me? So other females, other loud dressers. I don't know. So that was a little bit of a sign. How do you overcome it? I suppose I'll speak as a sports person. So sports has been a big element in my life since I can remember myself. And that has actually helped me build resilience, and appreciation for who I am and my body, myself, my psychological sort of status and needs. So I've always held up to my guns. That sounds quite aggressive, but I basically embraced who I am. And I think by embracing who you are, you also create this ability to empower others to also be themselves. And any opportunity I would come to coach, mentor, fellow female, or anybody who also projects their own intersectional abilities and status and characteristics, I would always try to give a little bit extra and try and attract into a space that can be happier once it becomes more diverse.
Thank you. And it's great that you took it upon yourself to do that as well and seeing the gap in the market. And Shani, did you want to tell us about your experience?
It's similar in some ways. I've always been rather quite loud, a bit like Vina, quite gregarious and outgoing. But when I really entered the profession, doing financial planning, if you like, it was more on an international platform, so I had to travel quite a lot with HSBC. But I was the one woman with 34 men, and I found myself becoming a little bit more like the men. I started to power dress. I was always wearing the suits. I was just desperate to fit in as a younger woman. But because of that, I also think I probably forgot a little bit of my feminine side and what actually makes me me. And so I did struggle for quite a number of years with a certain number of men. Well, a lot of them, unfortunately, because I was younger, and I think they just felt I was always just a bit of the girl. But as time went on, I realised how good I was at doing what I did. How the results speak for themselves. The relationships I built with clients, and it took really for another man, funny enough, to actually come into the business, and he came in as the CEO of that particular department of all of us, and recognised my ability. And because of him, he started to mentor me a little bit, and he made me see that it was okay to be the only woman. It was okay to wear a dress to work, and equally that what I had was actually valuable. And because of that, he just gave me this huge boost of confidence. And I think also just being being in the industry for so long, life as well has taught me that, you just have to stick with this self-belief, because at times I just thought I can't do this anymore. And it's just, it really inspired me. And I also didn't want to give up, because I just see so many other women being held back, and a lot of women who were like the secretaries and the assistants, and when they started like having children and family, a lot of them either went to part-time or totally left to look after their children. And unfortunately, I wasn't in that position. I could afford to do that. So I had to pursue it, which is one of the reasons I became an independent advisor, because I could no longer continue looking after children and working in the bank. But it gave me a fantastic footing. But I have to say, it has been helped by having good people around you, good mentors to help you, show you another way, perhaps, if that answers that.
Yeah, and it's good that you recognise your skills sort of like beyond your gender, and having just as a person, I guess, which is a great confidence boost, like you said. Okay, so staying with you then, Shani, what are your hopes and I guess your expectations for the future when it comes to women working in insurance and personal finance?
Okay, well, I'm a really big advocate that more women should really get into this industry, especially mine, giving financial planning advice. I mean, I don't think a lot of women maybe appreciate how strong and how a lot of their soft skills are so important in this area. I've worked in my career all these years, majority of which are men, but just from meeting women, more so like going to the UK, attending conferences and meeting a lot of women, they really inspired me, because it just showed me that women can have a real voice in this space. And just with my own client bank alone, I've been able to pass those skills on to my staff. But again, trying to get women, and we've got a much smaller, obviously, client staff bank to go for the, people who are looking for a career. I just think that women have just got such amazing skills, and it's the soft skills, not the aggression and the ego. Women have amazing skills to deal with clients on a real empathetic level with compassion. And I would like to see more women. I do try and mentor women over here in different areas of their career, but I just think this is such a good career to be in. And I wish more women would just take the plunge and give it a go, and hopefully get the opportunity as well to do that.
Yeah, that's a great message. And Vina, would you like to share your thoughts as well?
Yeah, and can I just start by saying how much I endorse what Shani just said? It fully resonates with me. And much as I would not like to make it a personal financial planning versus insurance, I would say, how about us using the financial service industry as a blanket term, as an umbrella term for anybody, particularly females. And I'm speaking as a massive and active advocate for meritocracy. So for those people who are the naysayers and they think, oh my God, female just for being, no, female and meritocratically deserving. But of course, you cannot allow people to demonstrate the skill sets unless they can see representation, unless they can feel that they belong, unless they can feel that they are in a safe environment that gets them. The amount of times that I hear people saying, oh, you are being aggressive. No, I'm just self-assured. I know who I am. It's as simple as that. You cannot, mess this up. You cannot muck about with that. I'm just who I am. And you know what? I am unapologetic about being me and about, obviously, within reason. And I'm turning into legal lingo here, but it's very important, however, to stress and apologies to the audience for possibly hearing that again. But so important to have the cheerleaders, or upstanders, or should I say, the sponsors in your life. And a message is much more, acoustic, much more sort of eloquent, I suppose, louder when it comes from a person that doesn't belong in this category. So Shani, amazing that this great CEO, male, spoke highly of you and supported you, because coming from a fellow female is strong. And I mean, I would have no problems with that whatsoever. But coming from a male, this kind of degree of support and understanding and really identifying the soft skills. And again, we are more and more in insurance now, just to make it, personalize it a little bit. We're speaking more about attitudes and behaviors we need to have. We talk about, attracting creative personalities. Well, I've got some news for you. We already have loads of creative personalities. We're all born with a personality, and creativity comes pretty much part and parcel of that. But how much of it do we endorse, do we empower, do we nurture to come out? And this power dressing, absolutely. I mean, I'm still rocking the pinstripe suit, but I do it with my nonsense, it's important to sort of, give your own sort of color to it, to allow it to represent you rather than, wear you. So important to really just embrace who you are and create a little pockets of my tribe kind of people. So I'll put a full stop there, simply because meanwhile I've forgotten what the question was, but I think what I said was halfway relevant.
Yeah, I think you definitely answered it, Vina. Thank you. And so building on this, what advice then or recommendations would you give women hiring managers or organisations with respect to inclusion and progressing women in the workplace? Shani, did you want to start with this one?
Yeah, okay. Again, I think we obviously speak the same language, even though we've ended up different industries. Our journey for a lot of women is very similar. And I just think, again, and I'm sure we're probably gearing this more to younger women, but I do think women are absolutely amazing in the fact that we do tend to be the biggest caregivers in our family. We look after our children. We juggle everything, the parties, the school runs, and still go on and hold down a full-time job. My husband couldn't multitask if I paid him. He can't do two things at once. So actually, I am the master multitasker in our home. But women are also the glue. And I just think, again, women don't probably give them the recognition of that. I'll just give you an example, actually, because it's perfect for this question about women hiring managers or people in inclusion. You can't judge a person by the minute they walk through the door. And I just recently interviewed a young lady who joined my business because we've been looking for someone who could be an amazing addition to the team. And I've only got a team of, my business is only 9 people, but we're deliberately trying to keep it nice and small, bespoke, et cetera, et cetera. And when I read her CV, I thought, wow, God, she's so qualified. She just seemed to have these many degrees and whatever, but her skill set probably wasn't what I was looking for. But I thought, you know what, I'll get her in because she'd just done quite a lot in her life that I really quite respected. So instead of asking her how good she is on a computer or Excel skills or whatever, I asked her about her life. And as it turned out, we were quite similar because I think in a small team, it's so important you get the good. I've made so many mistakes, by the way, in the past, but such a good fit. And I couldn't explain more how important it is in our amazing team that I don't want someone coming in and spoiling that mix. And so when I asked to talk about her life and what she did and what she enjoyed, it was very much, she was very holistic and spiritual, a little bit like myself. She loved the sea. She loved spending time with her son. She was very organized. She loved how her life was. She liked everything in a certain way. And she had quite this lovely, like, free spirit and a lovely calming attitude. But her skill set, if you just read that, you would think she's not suited to the job. But asking her different questions that she probably didn't expect either, I thought my business partner has to meet her because I thought she was fabulous. And I would just say to anyone, don't just look at the CV like I do with clients. I don't just look at their money. I look under the bonnet, what makes them tick, what's important to them, what's their outlook. And I just think you get much more from people in that respect. And so I wouldn't really discount anyone, man or woman for that matter. Just get to know them a little bit better. And I think, I just think as well, women have a lot of transferable skills that maybe don't come down on paper. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely, Shani. Yeah, I agree with you there. And Vina, did you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, can I just actually, reiterate how much do I agree with you, Shani, especially you hitting the nail on the head on transferable skills. I would just start recruiting on transferable skills alone. How many years has it been out in the market, transferable skills? But then you send a CV or you receive a CV and somebody says to you, but they haven't got any experience in this space. I mean, come on. One of my previous managers used to say, insurance is not rocket science. Well, and meanwhile, rocket science is not rocket science for those people who are inside. So unless we're speaking about open heart sort of surgery, I think anything else can be taught. Okay. So for me, it's all about the attitudes. So skill sets, great. But I mean, going back to my meritocracy sort of principles, I can always create a nil one kind of shape of, do you have a biology degree because I really need a biologist or not? That's easy. But then again, out of the whole pool of people who hold this degree, who do I want my team? And that's all about connection, isn't it? I've always been a client's person as well because of empathy, because I really want to be, transparent. I want to help you. I genuinely care. My duty of care is, off the charts, because I want you to do business with me, not because I represent X, giant of a company. No, I want you to do business with me because there's a trust element and you know that I'm going to have your back no matter what. And if, the rates are going to skyrocket without giving away IP, please, dear insurers, don't you worry about that. It's all about explaining to people where we stand. So important. Hiring managers, please, let's stop hiring whoever looks like us or whoever is going to give us the plain vanilla, the easy plain sailing kind of attitude. It's not about that. It's about expanding, provoking, and really creating rippling effects onto what I, meanwhile, refer to as conscious evolution of the space. If we're speaking about the digital transformation, if we are all choosing to get afraid and conscious and anxious over AI replacing our jobs. Well, stop fearing. Just start recruiting people who've got things to say. And fellow females, we're more than just being women. We have got all these incredible other characteristics. So be unafraid. Speak about what makes you tick, what you enjoy. So my favorite interview question is, what do you enjoy doing? It's going to tell a lot whether this person is meant to be a client's person or would rather sort of work behind the scenes. Because guess what? Not everybody wants to be out and about. I'm an extrovert with very internal sort of philosophical moments and huge, ability to observe things that makes people feel like, what are you doing? Are you just, laughing at me? No, I'm not laughing at anybody, but I'm just thriving on understanding, shapes and connections around me. So find your tribe, be unafraid, understand what defines you, give yourself the chance to reflect about your purpose in life. It's not about success. It's probably more about happiness. And all of this in a little package, not onerous, not, box ticking, but just allow the flow of life to take on and enjoy what you do for a living, because it's not just about repaying mortgages. It's really about enjoying the 8, 9, 10 hours of a day that we invest in working.
Yeah, I think you've summarised that really well there, Vina. And Shani, I think it's a breath of fresh air to hear you both speak about it from that perspective as well. Okay, so finally then we'll come on to our last question, which is, are there any resources you would encourage our listeners to read? And secondly, are there any suggestions for them if they would like to learn more about supporting the attraction and progression for women within the insurance and personal finance professions? Shani, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'd love to go back to just what Vina said, because she's absolutely right. Not everybody wants to be a client facing role. It comes with that. It's not for everybody, but there's obviously skills sets behind the client facing, because you're only as good as the rest of your team at the end of the day. I would say a lot of resources, and I have to go back to that guy who encouraged me. He was very good at knowing who was good at what. He had a great ability, and I always like to think that I could do a little bit more of that in my as I've got older, and recognizing the strengths in different people. I'm an avid reader, full stop, but I'm not necessarily encouraging just reading about the Finance Society per se, but I would encourage for women to read books written by other women about women, because I think that would be very empowering, again, just for them to understand how important their role in society is and how much you really do offer to your families and the communities around us and our own friends. Your friends can be a really good source of, knowledge about what you're like yourself. But I would also say, having a good manager and someone you can talk to if you're in a role, again, being happy is so important. We're not there just to pay the bills. You want to be in a fulfilling role. And I can't stress enough the importance of educating yourself. And I mean exams, and yes, it sounds horrible, and they are at the time, but it's again another just tick of achievement, getting those little exams, to starting at the very basic financial planning certificate. We've got all our admin staff doing that at the moment. One of them's just passed. He probably would never be, he might consider a paraplanner role in the future to support the financial advisors. But again, it's just give him such a boost of confidence. And because of that, he'll be rewarded financially, but also it just shows us that he's prepared to step out his comfort zone a little bit more. He wants to get on. And I think just being in a good, safe environment, we've allowed him to grow. And I'll just say, we're all capable of it. And yes, it's so important having that support behind you. But if you can't, go online, research, get yourself invited to more networking through your business, and get talking to people, and do your own little bit of investment in yourself in order to excel in your own career path.
Yeah, definitely. And Vina?
It's incredible to hear. I'm an avid supporter of the merits of education, where education gives us creativity, curiosity, critical thinking, probably the characteristics that modern education in the schooling system doesn't. But it's for us to grab, it's for us to appreciate. The other thing that's my favorite motto in a way, and it's hardly a motto, it's be respectfully curious. Just be curious, embrace your inner child, and allow yourself certain questions. So you find people who really make you think, wow, I like what you're doing, or I like the way that you've gone about things. Just ask, respectfully ask. It's not trying to, investigate too much in depth. It's more about, please inspire me. And don't we need to be inspired? I think I wouldn't have done half of what I've done, for a person who took exams for medicine, physics, chemistry, and biology, to then study economics and really not understand what inflation means in their own mother tongue, and still plow on. I think it goes to show that I was just curious, and the confined sort of elements of possibly one day becoming a general practitioner did not appeal to me. So I thought, okay, then I have to do something else. And so going back to also the curiosity, I find that we shouldn't allow ourselves to be confined in a box. We should always strive to connect on. Networking is great, but it should be done with a purpose. It shouldn't be just for the sake of, I'll be there, I'll meet, and I'll be, I'm a notorious. I'm always the fire of the party, but it's all about, why do you, speak with those people? Is it something on which you all find yourselves connected? Be intentional. Tell people what it is. They won't be able to guess it. It's just, and sometimes allow yourself also not to know what it is, but explore. So important. This CII, and again, I'm not doing a plug here, but it's more than just sitting the exams, which again, I agree, it shows a commitment that you want to achieve something. It's also community. See it as a community. Understand, again, all the other protected characteristics. Understand intersectionality. Again, I work with neurodivergent people. They need, it's over and above gender, race, or whatever else. It's also something that's invisible. So connect with your inner self and understand what makes you tick, and try and find the people. And don't worry, if those people don't respond, it could be that they're busy. It could be they haven't seen it. So don't take anything personally, and do allow yourselves to, as I said again, for the 9th time, connect. So reach out to people that actually sound interesting. Send them a LinkedIn message, and just give it the benefit of the doubt, even if it takes months for them to respond. Move on, by the way, in that case. There's always somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Thank you. And is there anything else that you both would like to share with our listeners before we close this podcast?
Yeah, I would just one little thing I would like to say is any of you ladies out there, stop apologising, and actually what you have to say is valid, worth listening to. And that's what I'd say. So many people say, I'm sorry for this, sorry for the late reply, sorry for this. Actually, just thank people for waiting and for their patience, and have a valid question. It is important.
Yeah, definitely.
Mine would be, don't be afraid. Just go for it. Linear pathways are great, but there's non-linear sort of epiphanies and reflection and successes to be made. And this is, again, perhaps how I would redefine success, as in things that give you this kind of inner drive, help you fulfill your potential, and claim, again, your purpose in life. Not everybody shares the same purpose, and that's absolutely fine. So just go for it, and connect with people who actually, say something to your heart.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important to make sure that we're reaching out to people that resonate with the same values, morals, etc. as well. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Shani and Vina, for joining me on the podcast today. It was really interesting to hear about your experiences in the professions, and what we can do to inspire more inclusions, because you've definitely inspired me as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Personal Finance Professional Podcast. You can join us for a special webinar on this topic on Wednesday, the 13th of March. Visit the CII digital events page for more details and register. For more podcasts and useful links, visit pfp.thepfs.org/podcast. Until next time, goodbye.